Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta, no matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be. Thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. Here we go with one of our favourites. Let's rock and roll, Squaddies. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad. We are back, we are live with one of my favourites, such a superb journalist, and hopefully he's enjoying his new life over at the BBC. Welcome back to Squad Central, Mr. Sammy Mokbel.
Hey guys, how you doing?
I'm okay. How are you, Sammy?
I'm good. I'm speaking to BBC. I am in BBC Sport HQ, which is in Salford. So I'm trying to make I live in London and I'm based down in London, but I'm trying to make the commute up as much as I can, obviously, just to make those kind of initial connections with sort of all my new colleagues and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all still kind of a little bit new to me, but it's we're getting there, Sophie.
Love it, absolutely love it. Well, congratulations on the new gig, and we appreciate you and your time. Squaddies, at ease. Hopefully I have a stable internet connection. I just put 25 euros in my dad's internet meter here in Cyprus. So we'll get stuck in. Squaddies, if I don't get your comments up as much tonight, don't worry about it. It's because I'm operating from my phone. So we're going guerrilla style. Sammy, you broke an exclusive just about 5 days ago. Arsenal fans, of course, want to know who's coming in. But I think there's some key players that need contracts upping that are the spine of the team. And Big Gabi looks like he might be signing a new contract with the Arsenal. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so Sophie, you are absolutely right. I think the focus as ever at this time of year in terms of fans is on recruitment and incomings. That's fine. You know, I think that's the way of the world now. But I think perhaps some of the most important business that Arsenal will do this summer will be retaining and extending the contracts of some of the key players. And you mentioned Gabriel there, and I managed to sort of break the story last week that they're close to an agreement now. I think good news for Arsenal. He's been such a rock in the centre of that defence, and we know that partnership between himself and William Saliba is the bedrock of the Mikel Arteta project. Really, it is the cornerstone of what makes that team so good. So to have him tied down, from what I understand, until 2030 is a big statement for Arsenal, really. And I think now that one is there or thereabouts done, I think it will take a major collapse now for that not to happen. They will turn their attentions to sort of sorting out his central defensive partner in William Saliba, from which I understand that those talks are progressing, maybe not perhaps as quickly as many would like, but I'm not getting any negativity. I just think that is going to be a process that may take longer than some of the others. I think there's better news and there's some positive news on Leandro Trossard's contract. There's whether that transpires, whether that becomes an actual extension, remains to be seen. But I know that he's certainly been in talks over a pay rise to put him up to where I guess he feels and the club feels he belongs. I know he joined the club as a little bit of not a bit part player, but maybe a bit more of a fringe player and an option from the bench. But I think because of the injuries this season or season just gone, he became an important member of that team, not just the squad of the starting 11. So I think there is a will at Arsenal to reward him for that. And again, that is an ongoing process, and I think that is a situation that is advanced. The other ones, there's so many that they're trying to do all at once.
Let me ask you real quick, Leah. Let me ask you real quick, because last time we spoke, there was interest from Saudi on Big Gabi, and that interest was pretty fierce. And the same with Trossard. But you said it'd take a major collapse for the Big Gabi contract not to happen. Trossard, it looked like, you know, coming or going. I think with Arsenal, what fans want, Sammy, is build on what we have and not let these assets go. We were already thin this season, and that really cost us. And of course, one of the positions is cover for Bukayo, but also Bukayo is key to this triangle of Saliba, Big Gabi. Any news on Saka?
Yeah, so I have been getting I've been getting positive vibes with regards to how those talks have been progressing and going. I have to say, I've been getting positivity for around 4 to 5 weeks now. I'm not I've not been confident enough to write that story.
Mm.
So you would have seen it if I was, but that isn't to say that work isn't being done in the background, and I think some cohesive work going on with Andrea Berta, who is leading that process, and I think there is a confidence behind the scenes that sooner rather than later, Bukayo Saka will sign a new contract, and again, you know, that will be seismic news for Arsenal, because you know, you don't need me to tell you how important he is for Arsenal and the way that they play.
Sammy, before we get into some of the incomings and the seismic summer that Arsenal need to have, I joked on Twitter when I posted the show saying it's our summer transfer tan that we need, and we need pretty badly. It's so funny, isn't it? Every window's the biggest, but it feels like with Andrea Berta here, it really does feel seismic. What's your take on Berta, Mokbel? There've been so many reports about, you know, who's in charge, who's not, who's the boss. We've done shows here as well talking about how it would be great to defer to Berta, who has the pedigree in the marketplace. What's your take from what you know?
I've not heard anything to suggest that they've been any conflict or clashing or anything like that. What I would say perhaps it is a natural course at any club for people to have different opinions on who they sign or how long a contract should last. But I think that's entirely natural. And to be honest, the vibes that I'm getting from the club is that there is a synergy between Andrea Berta and Mikel Arteta in terms of the direction that they want to go in this summer. As ever with these things, there will be compromise. There has to be compromise, because you're not going to get a table full of people, and I don't include, and I'm not just including Andrea Berta and Mikel Arteta here, although it is clear that they are two very important people at the club. But I'm talking about the leadership team, the executive team. It's very unusual that you would get people around the table when they would all have exactly the same ideas and they all have exactly the same opinions for who they should go for or who they should sell. But as ever with these things, you know, you have to go into the summer or the two transfer windows kind of as collective and aligned as you possibly can, and I'm certainly getting that impression that the most powerful people at Arsenal, the decision makers, the guys who are important, are aligned, and there is that synergy going into what, as you say, will be a seismic summer. And it you know, I know there is, that is part jokey, but it is a massive summer. It is a massive summer because this team now within touching distance of achieving something, winning a major trophy. And when I say major trophy, it's the Premier League or the Champions League. They're so close that with the right additions this summer, there can be no excuses next season. That you know, they have to deliver, but that will be dependent on the recruitment. And if they can get the recruitment right, they will be there, or absolutely there or thereabouts next summer.
Okay, so let's get stuck into some of the talk for the summer. We'll start at the tippy top because it's a name that has been attached to the club for a few months now. Some weird comments that freaked out a whole bunch of Arsenal fans from Zubimendi yesterday, Sammy. As far as we were concerned, the last time we heard, he was going to have his medical, and we were off to the races.
Yep. That's still my understanding, if I'm honest, Sophie. So my understanding of the Martin Zubimendi situation is that all the necessary paperwork has been completed and has been signed. And all that is left now is for Martin Zubimendi to complete his medical. And sort of as I wrote in a story last week, there is no rush to have that medical, to complete that medical, because one, he's got the Nations League games coming up over the course of the next 7 days with Spain, and also because that process, the paperwork is complete, as far as I understand it, that the deal was effectively done. It's agreed. So yeah, once that medical is complete, the deal can be signed off and he can be announced as an Arsenal player. I can't see a way how, because all the various pieces of the puzzle are in place, it would take something unprecedented for this deal not to go through. And I just don't see that happening. And because paperwork has been signed, you'd imagine that trying to get out of that situation would open up a can of worms in terms of legalities and that kind of thing. So look, the bottom line is I still fully expect Martin Zubimendi to be an Arsenal player at the start of the season.
Okay, those are the insurances there, you guys. The freak out was massive yesterday, just for a little moment. Let's talk about a player who's come on the radar, was of interest in the past, Sammy. Kind of destroyed us in the quarterfinal of the home leg of the Champions League last season. Leroy Sané is a name that's come up, and it's divided the Gooner nation in terms of, is he the same player? He's had injuries. I'll remind people maybe of that quarterfinal, but is this real, the Leroy Sané connection?
Yeah, I think it's a live situation, Sophie. I'm not sure if I'm not aware of it being massively advanced. That's not to say it is, but it is a live situation. I think there has been a connection between Leroy Sané and the club. I don't know who initiated that contact and that connection, but I think there has been a conversation had. I think, as ever with these things, it will depend on the finances. It will depend on how much Leroy Sané wants to be paid, because my understanding is he'd be a free transfer, right? Because is he out of contract?
Mm-hmm.
I think he is, yeah. So the money, the wages will be big, and given his age, I think he's 29. I can see a situation where maybe Arsenal wouldn't be willing to pay Leroy Sané what he believes he deserves, or what he would be looking for, because this will be his last big contract. So you can imagine he's looking for big money, in excess of 200, probably in excess of 250 perhaps. Does that fit into Arsenal's ethos? Does that fit into Arsenal's wage structure for a 29-year-old? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe they do. Maybe they are looking for a bit more experience. But he's one number of options that they're looking at and have considered. And I'm sorry I can't be as definitive with that situation. I think it's just because it is a live one, and that as we know, they are looking at other wide players as well. Nico Williams is one that they would love to get over the line, but again, the issue with Nico Williams is wages. I think they could do the release clause, but my understanding is that Nico Williams would look to be one of, if not the highest paid player at the club. So there's that situation there. I know there's an interest in Anthony Gordon at Newcastle, but Anthony Gordon only signed a new contract at Newcastle at the start of last season. So that would be a difficult that there would be difficulty in trying to extract him out of St James's Park, particularly given that they're in the Champions League now. So it appeared they'd be under no massive pressures to sell. So yeah, that it's an area that they're looking to strengthen. It's just what option that they fall on.
It's you know, the Leroy Sané one seems more like a Mikel thing than a Berta thing, and I mean, Anthony Gordon's a great player, but Newcastle getting that Champions League football, that is an interesting one. Was an interesting one last season too. Let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. Again, Arsenal fans, I told them it's going to be a long summer. Pick which mountain you want to die on. But the Sesko versus Gyökeres, here's what I'm afraid of, Sammy. You know, already if it's Sesko, and people see the beast that Gyökeres is, you know, there's this pitting them against each other, especially if one comes to Arsenal, one goes to Chelsea. I actually asked the question to Ben Jacobs and a couple of others, why not get both? But of course, that's probably not possible.
Yeah.
Sesko versus Gyökeres. Is Sesko the guy?
I think they're looking. So there's been an exploration of both deals. So I think they're in the process at the moment of seeing how much Red Bull Leipzig might accept for Benjamin Sesko. I think Benjamin Sesko is a long-term target of the club. He has been a target of the club for about 18 months, coming up to 2 years. So there is a long line of kind of scouting reports, and there is a history with Arsenal trying to get Sesko over the line, or trying to, you know, being interested in Sesko. That points to that being Arsenal's preference, because there is a longer history there. What we do know, that Andrea Berta's appointment in April saw the club's interest in Gyökeres increase, because Andrea Berta rates him very, very highly, and he's an excellent player. But if you sort of look beyond Berta's appointment, you will find that the club prior to Berta's arrival were virtually fully aligned with making Sesko their number one target for the summer. That will be dependent on price, and if they can get Sesko at what they believe to be a reasonable price, I think he definitely fits the profile of player that the club are looking for. He's 21, or is he 22? He plays in the Bundesliga, which sort of in terms of the recruitment data, stacks up to as a higher level than the Portuguese league. That's no disrespect to the Portuguese league, but that is also a as I understand it, a consideration here. And the big thing with Gyökeres is that he scored a bag of goals in Portugal, and he's obviously an excellent finisher. It's the age thing there. I think he's 26, moving on to 27. So if you are going to do a sort of submit a significant outlay on him, there isn't going to be much of a resale on him. So, but in terms of Sesko, who's 21, 22, yeah, you might spend 10 million more in trying to get that deal done. But for the longevity of it being a sound financial investment for the club, it ticks more boxes. And I've probably spent the last 5 minutes explaining to you that I don't know who they're going to sign, who they're going to pump for. But hopefully what I have done is kind of set out the factors that are at play, and if they do choose Sesko, it will be because is almost universal alignment at the club.
Yeah, I mean, market value. Market
Yeah,
value is something that Arsenal haven't valued in the past, and selling on players, we've been terrible at that. And Andrea
yeah,
Berta brings his pedigree of being able to bring players in and to also sell players well. And so I totally understand that. I know there's a concern of, 6'5". I think aerially he's better than Gyökeres. Gyökeres doesn't score too many goals with his head. I learned that in the last couple of weeks. He seems to suit Mikel's game more. So it's going to
yeah.
be interesting. It's really what I don't like, Sammy, is that some of the disappointment out there. If there's one thing you can do, you see a lot of players play, and I'll get you out on a final question in just a second. I know you've only got a minute or two, but
Awesome.
what I don't like is, people already kind of setting Sesko up to fail as fans in like, he's not good enough. We haven't had a striker. We haven't had an out and out number 9. I mean, some people say Gyökeres is the closest thing to like a Haaland or whatever, but can you just kind of maybe give your 2 cents as a fan as well, like the quality of the player? Because people think they've watched him play when they watch a YouTube reel and a video,
Yeah.
but not every Arsenal fan follows Bundesliga and has seen him play week in, week out.
No, quite. And it goes back to that point I made about the recruitment data and how much weight the recruitment data puts on the Bundesliga and how much weight it puts on the Portuguese top flight. Sesko's numbers for someone so young playing in a tough league are pretty extraordinary for a kid, really, who's just, as I say, 21, 22. He's sort of physically, he looks to have all the attributes to compete in the Premier League. He's to me, he looks 6'2", 6'3". He's aerially, he's very strong. He's got a good touch. He's quick, and I think he can work the channels, and he can come off and lay the ball off, and he's got everything, I think, in it to be a top class Premier League centre forward, and he's got all of those attributes to his game. Gyökeres, on the other hand, is just he's a goal scoring machine, and that's what he is. He's a finisher. He almost senses where he needs to be in the box. And I guess what you've got to weigh up there is what fits into, and you said it yourself, Sophie, what fits into Mikel Arteta's game plan and his strategy. And what I think we do know by the way he plays, Mikel Arteta, that the front man does get involved in the build-up play, and he's involved. The number 9 isn't just up top and just trying to make runs and dart in and find a bit of space. They are involved, and they are play. We just have to see the way that Kai Havertz plays and how he's involved in the games. When Gabriel Jesus was fit and playing, and then number 9, how he was involved. So I think if you're looking at playing style, I think Sesko is probably a better fit than Gyökeres. But listen, Gyökeres' goal record is phenomenal. It absolutely speaks for itself. So
Yeah.
if they are looking for an out goal scorer, then maybe he is the one that they should go for.
All right, I'll get you out on this one, Sammy, real quick. Is there a name that Arsenal fans aren't even talking about? Is there a name out there you feel that could be a surprise? And you've seen Liverpool, the business that they're doing, Manchester City, Reinders today, Manchester United in action. Reassure the Arsenal fans that we will not get left behind this summer, and we will get a summer transfer tan.
Yeah, no, you'll definitely get a tan. Don't worry about that. There will be business. The business will be done for sure. Look, I think Brian Mbeumo is probably going to be ending up at Man United. I think that probably will happen, but I do know that Arsenal have had a big interest in him and have tried. I think perhaps the shall we say, that Man United put on the table maybe be a bit more favourable. than Arsenal's, and I think that perhaps might be why he's chosen to go to Man United. But Man United, listen, they're still, I know they're down in the doldrums at the minute. I don't think anyone can really deny the sway that they have traditionally. I think they're still a big club, but you know, if the Mbermo deal for whatever reason didn't happen, I would not be surprised to see Arsenal be there or thereabouts and trying to pick up the pieces of that deal.
All right. So I look forward to your next exclusive saying that Eze wants to join Arsenal then, all right?
I've never, even if that was right, I could never bring myself to write it, given my South London allegiances.
Well, listen, Sammy, thanks so much for joining us. I know you've got to go. You've got a busy season happening here, and we really appreciate you. And it means a lot that you come on the Highbury Squad and talk us through a lot of this stuff. So we appreciate you, Sammy. Thank you, mate.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Sophie.
Take care.
Cheers.
Brilliant stuff. Excellent. That is Sammy Mokbel. Everyone, you can follow him at Sammy Mokbel. Let's see. You can dismiss yourself. I'm just going to stay on a couple of minutes. Yeah. Class dismissed.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, mate. All right. That is Sammy Mokbel, everyone. I am going guerrilla style this evening. As you can see, I haven't been able to I've ended up on my phone because my laptop decided to take a dump the minute I got to Cyprus. So I'm sweating like swine and I'm on my mobile phone, but I hope you enjoyed that. And Sammy always comes with some really good insights and information. The Mbuemo thing, of course, interesting. You know, the fact that, you know, you get that reassurance that there's lots of talks and that we are looking at players. I know that some Arsenal fans don't want to hear interested in, admire, all of those keywords and buzzwords that, you know, make you feel like, you know, nothing really is happening. But it's early yet, guys. It's early. And there's a lot that can still happen. And, you know, we live in hope, but Zubimendi, you know, I panicked a little bit yesterday, got to say. I messaged a few people to ask them about that. Leroy Sané is the one I think that makes a lot of Arsenal fans feel uncomfortable. A lot of Arsenal fans feel like maybe he's past his prime and to you know, a bit too injury prone. So it's going to be, I don't want to say like a Sterling type signing, because I still think Sané has a lot to offer. And when you need a squad, and we were all bitching and moaning about our bench, and he's at that point where he's won everything and he's willing to be part of our project. Although I don't want to call it a project, it should be the road to success, because we've done process, progress, and now we want success, right? So project days are over. The winning days are what we need. And I think when you lose experienced players like Jorginho and Jesus isn't around, and, you know, who knows what's happening with Zinchenko, you need to have players who've been there, because we've proven that in the spotlight still that we don't have that final edge. And I'm not saying Leroy Sané is it. I think there's other players that can bring that to the table. But I think it's something that we absolutely need to consider. And, you know, as much as we're talking about who's coming in, I think it's so important that we keep the spine. I know that there were some fans that wanted Trossard to go. But again, when you look at the options that we had when Martinelli was out, you've got Trossard right there. I feel like Trossard could be the super sub next season. For him to be talking about staying at Arsenal is accepting his role, right? In terms of what Mikel Arteta wants. And you've got Martinelli in that position. You've got Trossard in that position as well. And again, keep the core. The big Gabi news is music to our ears. How we've missed him. Yeah, we beat Real Madrid without him, but you know, those kinds of games, the longer they go, you feel like you missed him in moments. Because of just the way he plays the partnership with Saliba, as good as Kivior did, and as brilliantly as he stepped up, to have that partnership and you know, bag Saliba, get him on that new contract, build from the spine, and that spine is Yuri and Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, now Lewis Skelly. You've got Declan Rice in midfield. You're going to have Thomas Partey probably. You've got Martin Odegaard, Zubimendi, Mikel Merino. Then you've got Trossard. You've got Martinelli. We need the Sesko signing to happen. Like yesterday, Kai Havertz will be back. Saka. Nwaneri still emerging, hasn't reached the heights of Miles Lewis-Skelly yet. But you build on that squad, and I know I mentioned Sesko and Zubimendi, but you carry on building on that squad and make this the summer of all summers. Don't miss out. Don't get left behind. Teams are making moves right now, and don't panic, because some of these teams are making moves because of the Club World Cup happening, right? It's something to think about. The transfer window will shut again once that starts. I'll be covering that and bringing you some cool interviews from that competition. But just remember that some of these signings are because of that. And those teams want to get those signings in. Now, you know, Liverpool made their moves early, City making their moves, Chelsea just waiting to see what we do before they make their moves. Manchester United are a broken team and they need to go for broke. We don't need to panic, right? But we do need to get in the game, bring the players in. And if you want those players, just sign them. You know, don't be dilly-dallying. And again, we heard from Sammy, comes down to money, right? Man United are willing to throw the kitchen sink at Mbeumo, but we're not. And that's what's gotten Manchester United into a lot of trouble. They've got all of these players like Rashford and Casemiro and on massive money and massive, you know, outlays. And we were there once and we don't want to be there again. And I know that we're paying certain players, you know, a lot of dough, but we just can't be throwing the kitchen sink when we need specific players in specific roles. And, you know, we need to also be fiscally responsible so we can do the kind of business that we want. I trust Andrea Berta. I think that he's going to be the right guy to help us come along. And, let's just not panic yet, right? You know, Mikel Arteta is on the clock. There's no doubt about that. He's under pressure. He's got to win this season. I don't want to hear this progression. I don't want to hear about, you know, XGs and how we almost beat or we were the best team and on paper and the stats said. And no, goals win games. Okay, XGs do not. And at the end of the day, we need a prolific striker. We need strength in the midfield. We need to make sure we've got cover at the back. We need to make sure that we've got cover for Saka. If Mikel's not going to super trust Nwaneri just yet, we need to build a beast of a squad so we can compete with the very, very best. And there are no excuses, none. And it's going to be a long transfer window. And the longer it goes on, I know Arsenal fans will panic. But let's not panic yet. If Andrea Berta wasn't there, I would say, you know what, hopefully it won't be the same story. But with him there, I think that there's this calmness that I feel because of his pedigree and what he's done in the past, right? So let's keep believing, and we'll get Sammy back on. We'll have some more updates for you. I'm sorry I wasn't able to put all of your comments in chat tonight. I've seen a lot of them. Please leave your comments in the YouTube section as well. We'll keep the conversation going. Ben's going to come back as well. I want to bring the journalists on who are at the front line of transfers. And that's no disrespect to anyone else, but, you know, insights are important. And of course, you know, it's not always breaking news on our channel, but I do feel like the guests that we bring on do give some insights that move the story along for us. And they don't sit there and tell you stuff that just isn't happening, right? So I will continue to bring some of the frontline journalists to you throughout the transfer window. There'll be some really good coverage coming up of the Club World Cup. I'm not sure if a lot of you are interested in that. I'd be interested to know in the YouTube section if you are. And of course, if you missed my chat with Emily Fox, please check it in the video section. Also, my exclusive chat with Leanne Sanderson. I loved it. It was brilliant. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. If you missed it, please go check it out. It's in the video section, side by side with the Emily Fox piece. I've got a little mini piece to post on Naomi Girma, who's talking about Emily Fox as well. And yeah, I appreciate if you guys would go and listen to that. If you're listening on audio platforms, Spotify and Apple, please, please, please subscribe, leave a review. And Squaddies, I'd appreciate it too. In the links, you'll see, go please subscribe to Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. You guys have been as epic as always. I went out for fish and chips today by the sea in Cyprus. It feels good to be back in the motherland. Had myself a lovely KO beer, or as we would say, geo. I've already had 12 gulbes. So go check out. The gulbes are those, what do you call them in Quebec as well, that you may understand. They've got mincemeat in them, a little onion. You crack them open, you squeeze a lemon in them. They're absolutely superb and delicious. Tomorrow I'm going to go for a fish meze by the sea with my cousin George, whose birthday it is. So happy birthday to him, and appreciate each and every one of you as well. I'm going to take a little bit of time off while I'm here. But if the guest comes up that can do it, because I've put out some feelers to a bunch of guests, if they can do it, I will go live as well whenever they can, as you know. Tomorrow, I believe I'll be joining Pedro on Legrove on the Arsenal Opinion podcast. So check that out. I think that's at 8 o'clock UK time. But let's stay connected on the community page. Thanks again to Sammy. Thanks again to you. Over 400 of you in live chat. Please hit the like button, kiss it, nut it, headbutt it. Give it a cuddle, and thank you so much for tuning in, and we will chat again soon. All right, kids. Now let me see if I can check out on the phone here. At ease, Squaddies. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. Bosh. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad. Another girl beer on ice. Love you guys.